You're listening to the Steven Tauriello Show, building a platform of liberty for people in search of truth with a dash of hope and a life worth living. The Steven Tauriello Show. And now, here's Steven.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the show. As always, thank you for tuning in. So, I want to get into some audio right out the gate. I got a 3-minute video here of Rand Paul, who I really like Rand Paul. A very principled guy on the liberal side of things, the libertarian side of things. I like that. He definitely, a lot of his stuff aligns with me, but not everything. And this may be just one of those things. So here, check this out.
At the Senate, House Speaker Kevin McCarthy is threatening an impeachment inquiry into President Biden. His California Democrat colleague, Congressman Adam Schiff, claims that Republicans are the ones obsessed with impeachment. Watch this.
Support an impeachment inquiry into President Biden's possible involvement in his son Hunter's business?
I think the Republican desire to impeach someone, anyone, no matter whether there's any evidence, just shows how they have descended into chaos here.
Yeah, Adam Schiff talking about Republicans descending into chaos, Senator.
My God.
A great deal of irony. The pot here calling the kettle black. The guy who impeached Trump with no hearings. They just went straight to the floor and impeached the president. This is a guy who had no respect for the Fourth Amendment rights of his colleagues, who illegally searched their phone records. This is a man without any semblance of any kind of respect for the rule of law. I do agree with one thing, though, is I think we should be better than the Democrats. The Democrats immediately rushed to impeachment without hearings, this and that. I think there needs to be continued investigation. I think that we need to listen to the 17 tapes. Apparently, 2 of the tapes have President Biden on them and maybe 15 tapes with Hunter Biden on them. Those tapes need to be listened to. If the FBI has those, we should listen to those and make a judgment. But I think it would be better to gather more evidence before an impeachment. If there's going to be impeachment, let's have quite a bit of evidence out there that the American people are actually behind this, because I don't really want to impeach every president that comes forward. I think the Democrats set a terrible precedent in impeaching Donald Trump just because they didn't like him, basically. And both of their impeachments fell flat and made them look, I think, terrible. But I think it's not good for the Republic to keep impeaching presidents and indicting presidents. Yeah. All of this stuff is destructive. The other side says, they're for preserving democracy. They're pitting everyone against each other, and they're destroying the fabric of our republic. So I think we have to be careful not to fall into the same trap.
So you don't feel like you have enough evidence? You've got whistleblower testimony. You've got bank records indicating millions of dollars coming from foreigners to shell companies that eventually made their way to Biden family member accounts.
And all of that is somewhat persuasive. I would want to find more, and I would keep pressuring the FBI. The FBI has been withholding things. You know, the whole interview and the whole existence of these tape recordings of Hunter Biden and his father was an extraordinarily explosive bombshell. And I think we now need to listen to them and keep gathering information. I'm not saying never, but there's 2 stages. There has to be enough evidence to impeach, and then there has to be enough evidence to convict.
Yeah.
And so I think that these are high bars, and they were meant to be so, because in a political divide, with a country evenly divided, we're all at each other's throats. It can't always be about impeaching the president we don't like from the other party. There are signs of corruption, but I think the House has a great deal of power to find more, and I want them to continue the investigation.
All right, Senator.
Okay. I mean, first of all, the kahunas on Adam Schiff for him to even talk about how Republicans want to just impeach anybody with no evidence. I mean, the hypocrisy, it really it irks me to a point to where I'm just baffled. I'm literally flabbergasted. I don't know how to react. Do you think they really believe what they say? I mean, the lack of self-awareness is just breathtaking. It's incredible. How can this guy who impeached Donald Trump not once but twice with no evidence, with bogus whistleblowers, with in completely fabricated situation. I mean, it's just the kahunas on these people are just, it's out of this world. I just don't understand. Do they really believe what they say? I ask this question all the time because it really baffles me. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of somebody driving slow in the fast lane, in the passing lane. Like, do you think these people that do that, do they know that there's people behind them and they just do it anyways? Or do you think they're really like oblivious and are just cruising along, not paying attention? It's the same thing. I always wonder, does Adam Schiff really believe that Republicans are out to just impeach anybody for revenge with and don't have any evidence to back it up? And, you know, it's the denialism is one thing, but the hypocrisy is a totally different thing. For this guy to even talk about illegitimate impeachments is just, it really is breathtaking. I'm speechless. I really don't even know how to react to it. But I think Rand Paul he may be right on this one, folks. I don't know. I really don't know how to feel about it. What you let me know. Send me an email. StevenTaurielloShow@gmail.com. Let me know what you think. Because me personally, a side of me wants to go in there. I think there's enough evidence to at least get an inquiry going into impeachment. But also another side of me is like with Rand Paul, where we should kind of, you know, they've been so successful in this 6 months of getting all this stuff. If they went this far, why not just go a little bit further and really put a bow tie on this? Because the way I see it right now is a lot of people it's kind of all over the place. I really don't think the message is getting out there very clear for people. I mean, it is to us, to people that listen to politics and people that read this stuff all day long and live, eat, and breathe the news. But to the average, everyday American, do they know that there's corruption involved in the Biden family? Yeah, I think majority of Americans, you know, suspect that there's definitely corruption going on with the evidence that they've heard or seen so far. But to really bow tie this up to where they can actually get a conviction, that's going to take a little bit more. And I think Republicans need time to really set the message in stone here. Really, I'm talking streamline this thing and dot every I, cross every T, and then wrap a nice giant red bow tie on this impeachment. So, and in order to do that, I think it's going to take a little bit more time. And I also agree with him in getting these audio tapes. It is clear that these audio tapes, or whatever it is, audio, video, whatever these tapes consist of, it is clear that whatever they consist of is damaging to the Democrats, or else you wouldn't have the FBI trying to stymie them. That's what they're doing. They're trying to stonewall so they don't have to turn over these tapes. There has to be tapes that exist. No one's denied that they exist. This is just like what they went through with the FD 1023. They stonewalled, and then only with the threat of contempt to Christopher Wray did they finally turn over this form, and then Grassley turned it over to the public. Another thing Rand Paul said that was interesting is the Democrats have really, really damaged this republic of ours. I mean, the level of damage that Democrats have caused this country with their shenanigans is off the charts. In 2016, what should have happened was Donald Trump won the election, and then Democrats moved on and said, better luck next time. But nope, that's not at all what happened. And I remember specifically telling them on social media, all the Donald Trump deranged people that were drooling over the sound of impeachment from day one, people like Eric Holder, people like Jamie Raskins, I warned them, I said, if you go down this road, you're bringing this country down a very, very dark path. And I remember specifically saying this. I pleaded to people on the left, do not do this because you are going to start a very bad trend. Every time a president is elected that the other side does not like, You're going to start seeing political targeting. You're going to start seeing politics being criminalized. And that is exactly what happened. This just goes to my overall thought when it comes to the Democrat Party and how they never see their unintended consequences of their movements, of their ideologies. It's kind of like a really in-the-moment kind of ideology where let's just do it and not even think about the consequences that will come afterwards. And so kind of like climate change. Let's just make all these electric cars, get all these batteries made, but let's not worry about what kind of damage it's causing on the other side. All the unintended consequences, they never see it. They never ask themselves the question, and then what? Same thing with the impeachment. They are the ones that started this madness. These people started this insanity in 2016. I've been saying this for years. We would not be here right now in this hostile political environment if it were not for the Democrats not once, but twice impeaching a president that was not clear to anybody what it was. It was confusing. They did not even they rushed it through. They were just making it up as they went. And, it was one of those things where they were just looking for anything to impeach him on, just like Adam Schiff accused the Republicans of doing. This is why it's so shocking to me how this guy can even accuse the Republicans of trying to just impeach anybody, whether there's evidence or not. It's truly mind-blowing, and again, it makes me wonder if these people actually believe what they say, or do they just say these things to gaslight people, and I don't know. I have no idea why they do this, but it is very common on the left. The hypocrisy knows no bounds. So I'm with Rand Paul on this. I say kind of stick it out a little bit longer, get as much evidence as you can. One thing that really kind of gives me confidence that Joe Biden will not be the Democrat nominee is Chuck Grassley. He is a Viking when it comes to whistleblowers and this internal investigating stuff. This guy has been doing this for decades. When it comes to whistleblowers, when it comes to internal corruption and all that stuff, this guy, he's the best. He is the best person in our Congress right now when it comes to this stuff. And when this guy is on to something, he's on to something, which means when he's sitting there telling us that he's releasing this form, he knows that this goes a lot deeper than what we see right now. I think he knows so much more than what we know. I can almost guarantee it. You can take it to the bank. And so when this guy is sitting here saying that there's audio tapes, there's audio tapes. When he's saying that there was corruption involving Joe Biden and bribery, there's bribery and there's corruption involving Joe Biden. He's not just saying that. This guy is strategic. He knows what he's doing. And so I agree with Rand Paul on that. I think we need to give it time and let them build this case because they got to present this to the people like it's going to be they got to hit it out of the park, man. This is all or nothing. And they need to make sure they wrap a big bow tie on it and make the message clear to the American people. What has Joe Biden done and what is he being impeached for? That's it. Because you still got to get a conviction from the Democrats. And I really don't think you are anyways, no matter how clear the message is, no matter how big that bow tie is. I do not think you're going to get a conviction from Joe Biden from the Democrats. It's just not going to happen. However, sometimes we don't plant the tree so that we can enjoy the shade. We plant the tree so that our kids can enjoy the shade. And so this will go down in the books, who Joe Biden is, and let history be known that Joe Biden was indeed the most corrupt president to ever set foot in the Oval Office. And let the history be known that it was the Democrats that put him there. Because Joe Biden is a stain on the Democrat Party. It's really wild to me that everything they accuse the other side of doing, and I say this in almost every single episode, everything they accuse the Republicans of doing, everything they accuse their opponents of doing, they themselves are doing or have done. Just like with the impeachment, with Adam Schiff. The balls on this guy to sit there and accuse the Republicans of just impeaching anybody, regardless of evidence, is just mind-blowing to me. Coming from this guy, it's just mind-blowing. And same thing with, the Democrats always accusing the other side of breaking constitutional norms. These people have been breaking constitutional norms from day one, since 2016. They are still breaking them. They indicted their former president and leading Republican nominee and Joe Biden's number one political opponent. I mean, they're attacking how many indictments? Not just 1 or 2 or 3. It's got to be like 60. Why not 70? I mean, it's getting to a point to where it's just ridiculous. I mean, I think they're overplaying their hands by a long shot. Overplaying their hands is an understatement. People don't even care anymore. I mean, it's getting to a point to where everybody knows what they're doing. Everybody knows they are influencing, they're doing this for the 2024 election. Everybody knows this. But they're going to do it anyways. And so I think it is important for Republicans to kind of sit back and play this and show the Democrats what a real impeachment is. Show the Democrats how it's really supposed to be done. I'm not saying, like Thune and I'm sure other, McConnells, the McConnellites, I'm not sure they would agree. What they want to do is no impeachment at all, because it's just not us. These people are perfectly happy getting punched in the nose by Democrats and not doing anything about it. These people have no problem being in second. They like to lose. They are the controlled opposition party. That is what the Republican Party has been for many, many years. Well before I started voting Republican, I knew this when I was a Democrat, that the Republican Party was pushovers. They were the party that wanted, they had the conservatives. They wanted to preserve the Constitution and do everything by the book. And they were old school, no alcohol sales on Sunday, criminalizing marijuana. The Republican Party has been known for this kind of stuff, this kind of behavior. And so finishing in second for them is no problem. Getting crushed by the opposition is no problem, just so long as they are the opposition. They don't care. They win second place gleefully. And so at least Rand Paul is willing to say he supports impeachment just when they have that big red bow on it. And I agree with them. So obviously Thune, Kennedy, Tillis, and Paul push back against impeachment because I see where they're coming from. Not so much Thune and Tillis. Those guys are losers. Those are McConnell Juniors. There's a Mitch McConnell 2.0. By the way, did you guys hear about McConnell having like a mini stroke in the middle of a press briefing? That was weird. The guy was sitting there talking and he just freezes for like 30 seconds and then he like wobbles away. He doesn't know where he's at. He's confused. What are we doing with all these old people? These people refuse to take their old crusty hands off the levers of power. I mean, it is mind-boggling to me how we have somebody that's 90 years old in our Senate, in our Congress. Why are these people still here? And not only that, but why are their family members not pulling these people out? How are they allowing their family members to go through this? Like Mitch McConnell, this guy should be gone. Go home, dude, with your family. Enjoy the rest of your life with your family. I mean, this guy is... I mean, how can he can't obviously be working. He can't be making rash decisions. I mean, what the hell are we doing here? And he's not the only one. I think he's 81. No, he's 79 or 78. Dianne Feinstein's 90 years old. Chuck Grassley's 89 years old. It's just crazy how we have this many old, decrepit people in our Congress. We got to get new people in there. We need some fresh blood. This Congress needs a facelift. It needs drained and revamped, man. It needs a total overhaul. These are the people that caused the decline in this country. It's not just Joe Biden. It's not just the Democrats. It's Republicans too. It's the entire damn system. Okay, this country has been in a decline for years. I mean, it's no doubt that this country should be the reverse. We should be, the bigger we get, the more prosperous we should be. It should be adding quality to everybody's life. But it's the opposite. It's because of these people. They need to go. They need to go. I don't care. You can have AOC. just as long as there's a Marjorie Taylor Greene. And again, term limits. We got to have term limits. If this Mitch McConnell and Dianne Feinstein, or Stein, I don't know if you say it Stein, I've heard it both ways. But if this is not an indication of why we need term limits, then I don't know what is. We have to have term limits. The problem is it's these people that vote for it. It's these people that are going to have to adopt term limits. And they're not going to vote to push themselves out of Congress. This is the problem we have. How you fix that, I have no idea. But we need to at least start by stop voting for Mitch McConnell. How about that? Stop voting for Dianne Feinstein. I mean, just stop. Stop putting these people in power. Mitch McConnell has been the longest Senate leader in U.S. history. I mean, he's been in the Senate, I think, since 1989. I think that's what I read. That's insane. I mean, what are we doing? So I agree, Rand Paul. I get that there's evidence, but we need to make sure that we dunk this thing. I'm talking we break the backboard with this impeachment. Show the Democrats how it's done. And again, like I said, I don't know where this ends. Because the Democrats have started this trend now to where if it's somebody they don't like, they just impeach them. They started all this madness. They are the ones that criminalized politics because of their obsessive, unquenchable thirst to hate Donald Trump. So all of this that we're experiencing right now, all this madness, this divisiveness, this, breaking constitutional norms, this wildly bizarre behavior with indicting former presidents and sending SWAT raids and corrupt DOJs, corrupt FBIs. All this started because Democrats could not control their emotions. They couldn't get a grip when Donald Trump won. So after warning them for years, I said, don't do this. You're going to destroy this country. You're going to destroy this republic if you continue to break these constitutional norms and keep taking this country down this dark path. And they just couldn't stop. They wouldn't stop, and they still won't stop. Look at them. And then all they can do is just point their finger at the other side and accuse them of what they themselves are doing. All right, so the next thing I have, which I also think is really important, are these House oversight hearings. So there was a House oversight hearing, I think today or yesterday, with Alejandro Mayorkas, the guy that's supposed to be protecting our southern border, that's essentially opened our southern border and allowed millions and millions of illegal immigrants into this country. Well, Matt Gaetz had a chance to question him for 5 minutes, and I think Matt Gaetz is probably one of the best warriors we got in this conservative movement. I think he speaks for the majority of people in this country when it comes to the southern border. And what really pisses me off all the time when I see this Congress spending another $40 billion, $50 billion on Ukraine is how they denied a border wall at our southern border. This border wall was going to cost, what, $40 billion? They said it was too expensive. The movement, you guys remember that stupid talking point that the Democrats came up with, that walls don't work? The dumbest thing I think I've heard since defund the police. All these stupid movements come from the Democrat Party. The Democrat Party is the worst. Republicans wanted a wall. They wanted a wall because that's what the border protection agents said would work the best. Would it fix it all? No. But it was going to work the best. It slowed down the encounters. It slowed down the people crossing. I mean, right now we have a porous border. We got parts where miles of border is just open and people could just walk across. And so Donald Trump and Republicans wanted a border wall. It cost $40 billion. That $40 billion was going to complete the wall, one of the best walls that we had, all the way across the southern border. And Democrats fought him every single day when it came to that wall. And guess what? The wall wasn't built. What was it? What do you get? Like 300 miles of wall, southern border wall done? So they fought him in every single way. What pisses me off even more is the border wall is down there, rusting away down in Texas. So the border wall has been completed. The panels have been created. The people, this is what pisses me off. There are construction workers that were down there getting paid to sit there and not build the wall. So imagine that. We had the panels ready to go up. We had the equipment there. We had the workers there, sleeping there in these little campers, getting paid to do nothing. And they had to sit there every day and watch that wall rust away. And so now look, what do we got now? 7, 8, 15 million illegal immigrants crossing the southern border. And we're spending 40, 50, 60, 100 billion dollars to protect Ukraine's border. This is so stupid to me. It's so stupid to me. One of the stupidest things I think I've ever seen in my entire life. We're not going to spend money to protect our border, but we're going to spend money to protect somebody else's border. The very first thing Joe Biden did was cancel the border wall construction. Why do that? Why? It doesn't make any sense. And so this is why I always say, what is the motive of letting millions and millions of illegal immigrants into this country? I think we all already know. And then you have to ask yourself the other question, who benefits? And so Matt Gaetz got the question, Mayorkas, today, being how this guy is in charge and overseeing the biggest southern border disaster we've had in this nation's history and the largest influx of illegal immigrants into this country in this country's history. So I thought it was fitting to go ahead and play you that audio right now. Here, check this out.
2 million encounters and releases under your watch. So not including the Title 42 expulsions, not including violent criminals. Of those 2 million plus that you've encountered and released, how many have you told to go home?
Congressman, individuals who are released are placed in immigration enforcement proceedings under the law where they can make their claim for relief. If their claim for relief is not satisfied, they are subject to removal from the United States.
Right, subject to removal sounds very different than actually removed. So I'm not interested in the process. I'm not interested in what people are subject to. 2 million people encountered and released. Not the expulsions under Title 42, not the criminals. How many of those people have you deported?
So, Congressman, a few points. Number one.
Just how many of the people? I just want to know how many. It's just a number.
Congressman, we are dealing with a completely broken immigration system.
I get it. No, Mr. Secretary, I'm not going to let you burn my 5 minutes. Do you know the answer? Do you know the number of people out of that 2 million that you've removed that aren't criminals?
I do know that we have removed more aggravated felons.
Right, I'm not asking about them. I've caveated that away because here's what I'm sort of getting and what your non-responsiveness is demonstrating. The Mayorkas doctrine is this. If you show up at the border and get released into the country, if you don't commit a specific aggravated felony, which, by the way, doesn't include a lot of assault and battery, doesn't include a lot of bad domestic violence, but if you're not one of the people who commit those crimes, you get to stay forever. Is that a fair characterization of your doctrine?
No, that is false.
Then tell me how many you're sending home.
No, that is false.
Okay, well, but you don't know the number of how many you've sent home. Here's another number. 1.2 million people today have been through your entire process, right? They've been through what you call a removal proceeding is just an amnesty dance. Because after the 1.2 million people get an order from the judge saying that they don't have a basis to be here, you still don't remove them. Like, what's your plan to remove those people?
Man.
Congressman, that is false.
Okay, how many of them then? Just give me the number.
Congressman, in this country, there are between 11 and 12 million.
Right, but I'm asking about a subset that you won't send home. And the reason you're smirking about it and the reason you won't answer my question is because everybody gets the joke. And the sad thing is it's not just us here, it's the cartels who get the joke too. And so now what you've done to execute this Mayorkas doctrine where so long as you don't commit a crime, you get to stay here and burden our hospitals, burden our schools, burden our social services, burden our jails. You've sent the message to the cartels and then you've taken this app and you've digitized illegal immigration and you've scaled it to the moon. Like this app that you've got everybody downloading is like the Disney Fast Pass into the country, never to be subject to actual removal, just removal proceedings as you call them. That app doesn't do any search of their criminal history in their home country, does it?
Congressman, I disagree with everything you have said.
Well, I'm sure, but just answer the question. Does the app that you are out there promoting do any search of people's criminal history in their home country?
Congressman, Customs and Border Protection screens and vets individuals whom they encounter.
Your app, it either has the functionality to test their criminal history in their home country or it doesn't. By the way, if it did, you'd have already told me. It doesn't. And then the other epic failure of this that's empowered the cartels is that in these processing centers you've set up in other countries to just wave them all in at a rapid pace, you've had to shut them down in Nuevo Laredo because the cartels were standing outside extorting people. Isn't that right?
Congressman, that is false.
Oh, really? So why did you shut down that facility in Nuevo Laredo?
And the point of safe, orderly, and lawful pathways is to reduce the number of encounters at our southwest border.
But wait a second. You've just shifted those encounters because right now, for the first time in modern history, more people are showing up at the ports of entry than running through some bush in Yuma, Arizona. And the reason they're showing up at the ports of entry is because you've got the turnstile open, where so long as they've gone and downloaded this app, you just let them in. I got one final question for you, and it's an important one. Is Mexico an ally in this fight against illegal immigration?
Yes, it is.
So, I mean, it's hilarious and somewhat troubling that you say that because, like, I'm looking at the El Chapo trial where President Nieto took a $100 million bribe from the Sinaloa cartel. Do you think that the subsequent presidents following Nieto weren't offered a bribe by the cartel or didn't take the bribe?
Congressman, I disagree with everything you have said.
Right, but you can disagree all you want, but what you won't provide is any number. Nope. And when you sit there and just kind of ostensibly disagree without any facts, it shows people what the real gig is. The Mexican government is captive to the cartels. They are doing the bidding of the cartels, and based on your response today, so are you.
Yep, he is. The cartels are making more money under Joe Biden than any other time in this nation's history. These people are making billions and billions of dollars through child sex trafficking, through drug cartels. The amount of damage that the cartels and this administration is allowing to happen to our country is off the charts. I mean, we're talking bad people, man, and they're allowing this stuff to happen to our country. So I found something interesting. So back in October of 2022, the Federation of American Immigration Reform, or FAIR organization, released their fiscal year of 2022 immigration numbers. So FAIR.org estimated that 5.5 million illegal aliens had entered the United States by crossing over the open border with Mexico since Joe Biden entered office. That number has reached 7 million today, nearly 1 year later. So on his first day in office, Joe Biden opened the U.S. border to millions of unknown illegal immigrants from every corner of the world. FAIR.org reported on Joe Biden's actions to flood America with millions of illegal aliens, and it's got bullet points, and we're going to go through each one real quick. So first bullet point, throughout the 2020 campaign, President Biden promised to extend amnesty to illegal aliens in the United States. On his first day in office, President Biden sent an immigration bill to Congress that included an amnesty program and pledged his support to give illegal aliens a path to citizenship. What kind of message do you think that sends to people around the world? That pretty much sends a message saying, hey, come on over, we're giving amnesty to everybody. It's free lottery day where everybody wins and everyone gets to become a citizen. That's the message you sent, and that's why you see a massive influx in immigrants from all over the world coming to our southern border. So bullet point 3, the Biden administration immediately issued an executive order directing agencies to take steps to preserve the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, the DACA program. Number 4, the Biden administration stopped construction of the border wall. Number 5, the Biden administration expanded the grounds for claiming asylum by reversing legal opinions issued under the Trump administration. The Biden administration ended the Asylum Cooperative Agreements, the ACAs, with Guatemala, El Salvador, and Honduras, which required migrants to apply for asylum in one of the countries through which they traveled, and be denied, as a prerequisite to eligibility for asylum in the United States. The Biden administration issued a policy to exempt unaccompanied minors and family units from expulsion under Title 42, releasing these populations into the U.S. The Biden administration revived the Obama administration's policy of allowing immigration judges to administratively close deportation cases. That's great. All right. Last one, U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, USCIS, issued policies that make it easier to apply for benefits, including work permits, extended and expanded programs like temporary protected status, eliminated the ability of officers to issue notices to appear, NTAs, and reduced screening and vetting in order to process more petitions and applications. So essentially what they did was they just turned our southern border into a mass production machine. They streamlined it. So they made it, it's not that they're having less encounters. So when they start telling you and lying to you, saying that the numbers are going down, it's not that the numbers are going down. It's just that they're processing people faster. And that's why you're not seeing immigrants going to the southern border or trying to cross illegally. They're coming straight to the ports of entry. Why? Because they know they're going to get in because they got this stupid app on their phone, which is essentially, like Matt Gaetz said, it's a Disney Fast Pass. You just show it and they let you right in. What is the motive behind this, ladies and gentlemen? Where is the motive? What is the motive? The amount of damage that this causes a country, no other country does this. None. You try and go to China. Try going to Australia. Try doing this in any other country. It will not happen. And I'm afraid Milton Friedman said it the best. When I was questioning the whole, why is illegal immigration so bad for the country? I mean, I knew it was bad. I mean, other than obviously you're cheating, you're breaking the law to get into this country. So the very first thing you do when entering this country is break the law. So you're a felon. So we have millions of felons inside this country. Okay? Obviously, that's a problem. I think Milton Friedman had a very unique way of explaining things to people in a very simplified fashion. Here, check this out.
The United States, as you know, before 1914 had completely free immigration. Anybody could get on a boat and come to these shores, and if he landed on Ellis Island, he was an immigrant. Was that a good thing or a bad thing? You will find hardly a soul who will say it was a bad thing. Almost everybody will say it was a good thing. But then I suppose I say to the same people, but now what about today? Do you think we should have free immigration? Oh, no, they'll say, we couldn't possibly have free immigration today. Why, that would flood us with immigrants from India and God knows where. We'd be driven down to a bare subsistence level. What's the difference? How can people be so inconsistent? Why is it that free immigration was a good thing before 1914 and free immigration is a bad thing today? Well, there's a sense in which that answer is right. There's a sense in which free immigration, in the same sense as we had it before 1914, is not possible today. Why not? Because it is one thing to have free immigration to jobs. It is another thing to have free immigration to welfare. And you cannot have both. If you have a welfare state, if you have a state in which every resident is promised certain minimum level of income or a minimum level of subsistence, regardless of whether he works or not, produces it or not, well, then it really is an impossible thing. If you have free immigration in the way in which we had it before 1914, everybody benefited. The people who were here benefited. The people who came benefited. Because nobody would come unless he or his family thought he would do better here than he would elsewhere. And the new immigrants provided additional resources, provided additional possibilities for the people already here. So everybody could mutually benefit. But on the other hand, if you come under circumstances where each person is entitled to a pro rata share of the pot, to take the extreme example, or even to a low level of the pot, then the effect of that situation is that free immigration would mean a reduction of everybody to the same uniform level. Of course, I'm exaggerating. It wouldn't go quite that far, but it would go in that direction. And it is that perception that leads people to adopt what at first seem like inconsistent values. Look, for example, at the obvious, immediate, practical case of illegal Mexican immigration. Now, that Mexican immigration over the border is a good thing. It's a good thing for the illegal immigrants. It's a good thing for the United States. It's a good thing for the citizens of the country. But it's only good so long as it's illegal. That's an interesting paradox to think about. Make it legal. and it's no good. Why? Because as long as it's illegal, the people who come in do not qualify for welfare, they don't qualify for Social Security, they don't qualify for all the other myriads of benefits that we pour out from our left pocket into our right pocket. And so as long as they don't qualify, they migrate to jobs. They take jobs that most residents of this country are unwilling to take. They provide employers with workers of a kind they cannot get. They're hard workers, they're good workers, and they are clearly better off. If you ever want to know how what people prefer, the surest sign is how they vote with their feet. Then there is no doubt how the braceros vote. They vote to cross the border with their feet, on their feet, or in any other way they can, by the thousands and perhaps millions, for all I know. Illegal immigration is fascinating because it shows not only the main point I'm trying to bring out now, how interconnected are the various aspects of freedom, how interconnected is the problem of governmental arrangements for welfare and governmental arrangements for immigration and other things. But it shows a very different point that's kind of a digression. And that is how bad laws make socially advantageous acts illegal, and therefore leads to an undermining of morality in general.
Yep. You got to have one or the other, folks. One or the other. You either have a welfare state and closed borders, or you have open borders and no welfare state, because you can't have both. That is like me going to the store, buying groceries, filling up my cabinets, filling up my refrigerator, and then opening my front door and allowing the entire community, everybody and anybody, to come in and take whatever they want. And every single piece of food is going to be gone. And that's unsustainable. What, am I just going to keep buying the food and keep passing the food out and just feed everybody that wants it? It's unsustainable. The situation this administration has brought to this country is unsustainable on almost every single level. When it comes to our republic, when it comes to our southern border, when it comes to our economy, when it comes to our rule of law, when it comes to our democracy, our elections, this administration, this party, the Democrat Party specifically, has brought this country to a place we have never been before. Okay? This is insanity. It is unsustainable. And I see no end game. I see nobody benefiting in any of this. Certainly not Americans, and certainly not the immigrants either. Because the one thing that they'll sit and tell you is, oh, they just want to make a better life for themselves. Well, what kind of life are they going to have? It's like the Democrats and people that want open borders, they want modern day slavery. They want these illegal immigrants to pick and cook their food. They don't want them to have a better life. And so this is why they encourage them to come here. This is why Democrats' ideology is so dangerous, because they never think about the unintended consequences. And so when you ask them, okay, well, and then they sit there and say, oh, well, without the immigrants, you wouldn't be able to eat. Okay, well, there were people farming before the illegal immigration here. We didn't always have open borders. Americans were doing these jobs well before we had a mass and millions of illegal immigrants here. And I think it's just sick that these people delegate illegal immigrants to picking and cooking their food. Like they're that's all they're worth to them. Like that's what they, like cleaning their home. They don't realize how bad they sound when they say these things. Oh, well, who else is going to clean your home? Like, really? Like, really? That's all you want? That's all you want to delegate these people to just cleaning homes and picking your food? You don't want them to have something better? The only way they're going to be an American is by doing it the legal way. I'm sorry. But if that means they can't pick your food and clean your house and cut your grass, then that's what that means. But I'm telling you, there's plenty of Americans here to do that job because they were doing it before the illegal immigrants. So their whole argument is just bunk. And just like all their arguments with everything is just stupid. It's like arguing with fifth graders. You cannot have open borders and a welfare state. These people want the government to provide everything for free and want open borders. That is unsustainable. It is a dumb idea. These people are just filled. They are a plethora of dumb ideas, and they never think about the unintended consequences. And it's a shame how many people have to suffer and how much damage it causes. They have a complete lack of self-awareness. They do not understand what they are saying. They don't understand the consequences that they are creating. They don't ever ask themselves the question, and then what? It's just, oh, well, they just want to be here and be free. And, we're all immigrants to this country. No. When people started coming here from other countries, like my great-grandparents came here from Sicily, there wasn't a welfare state, okay? There wasn't free health care. There wasn't all this garbage that the Democrats are constantly trying to get the government involved in. They want everything for free, and they want an open border. That is dumb. That is dumb. And so now that the borders are open, the Biden administration is releasing thousands of illegal alien children with tuberculosis across the U.S. More than 7 million illegals have entered the U.S. under Joe Biden's watch. This is another factoid. You ready for this? Joe Biden has brought in more illegal aliens in 3 years than the total population of 35 states. These 15 states have more population than the 7 million illegals allowed into the U.S. under Joe Biden. States like California, Texas, Florida, New York, Pennsylvania, Illinois, and Ohio. Georgia, North Carolina, Michigan, New Jersey, Virginia, Washington, Arizona, Massachusetts, and Tennessee. These are the only states that have a higher population than the amount of illegal immigrants Joe Biden has let into this country. 35 states have less population than the 7 million illegals brought into the U.S. under Joe Biden. This is crazy, man. This is crazy. And what pisses me off even more is Governor Abbott is trying to stop this insanity. These states are trying to protect their own states. They're trying to protect the southern border, and the Biden administration is suing them. The Biden administration is suing Texas because it secured the border. So it is clear what their motive is. They have no other excuse other than they want illegal immigration. They want open borders. And Democrats don't even hide it anymore. They don't even hide it. They say they want open borders. They used to be like, oh, well, it's secure. You guys remember, this is what they do with everything. They start with a narrative that they heard on CNN, and that narrative is constantly changing, and they're constantly moving the goal. When Joe Biden first got in and they said, you created a catastrophe at the southern border, they were in complete denial. It's not a catastrophe. There's no crisis at the southern border. It's not really happening. It's all a ruse. And then now they're just like, oh, yeah, that's happening, and we want it to happen. Yeah, there's open borders, and we want open borders. It's insane. And this is what they do. They're constantly moving the narrative. They're constantly moving the goalpost, always. And so 2 or 3 years goes by with these people repeating these stupid talking points and these stupid narratives just to be proven wrong in the end. But by then, the damage has already been done. So by the time these people realize that having an open border is extremely damaging to a country, and by the time the damage actually starts affecting them, that's when they're going to come out and say, man, you know what? It's a shame. It's a shame that Republicans didn't do more to secure the southern border. It's like, what? These people are insane, man. They don't know what they're doing. They live in an alternate reality. They never think about the consequences of their actions, ever. So right here, Daily Caller, Biden administration sues Texas over the floating border barrier. The Biden administration is suing Texas over its floating buoy barrier along the southern border, according to a Monday court filing. The lawsuit alleges that Republican Texas Governor Greg Abbott violated several areas of the law and that Abbott should be required to promptly remove the barrier, according to court filing. This guy is literally trying to protect our southern border with the state that he has. And the Biden administration is coming in and saying, no, you're going to take that barrier down. That's right. We're opening up this border. This is insanity. All these states, this federal government has one job. The president has one job, to enforce the laws. And he's not enforcing the laws to protect our country's border. And he's not protecting our border. I mean, how this doesn't lead to how this isn't grounds for impeachment is well beyond me. The Joe Biden and this administration, Mayorkas, he's certainly an easy pickings for impeachment. Because this is all happening on his watch, and when he was talking to Matt Gaetz, he was smiling about it. This is what irritates the hell out of me, man. You're going to sit there and smile about you causing all this damage to our country? So Abbott announced in early June that the state of Texas would erect a floating buoy barrier in the Rio Grande River to deter illegal immigration. The lawsuit alleges that Abbott's barrier violates two sections of the Rivers and Harbors Appropriation Act of 1899 for allegedly obstructing navigable waters and allegedly flouting approval from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, according to the court filing. The Department of Justice threatened legal action in a letter to Abbott last week, to which the Texas governor responded, "See you in court, Mr. President." Abbott responded Monday, reiterating his willingness to fight the Biden administration's efforts to end the buoy barriers at the border. Quote, "While I share the humanitarian concerns noted in your lawyer's letter, Mr. President, your finger points in the wrong direction. Neither of us wants to see another death in the Rio Grande River, yet your open border policies encourage migrants to risk their lives by crossing illegally through the water, instead of safely and legally at the port of entry. Nobody drowns on a bridge. To end the risk that migrants will be harmed crossing the border illegally, you must fully enforce the laws of the United States that prohibit illegal immigration between ports of entry. In the meantime, Texas will fully utilize its constitutional authority to deal with the crisis you have caused." Yeah. So what does the Biden administration think these states are going to do? These states are trying to protect their they're trying to protect their state borders. And so the federal government's going to come in and say, no, you can't protect your border. No, I don't think so. What? This is insanity, man. This is crazy. And so again, just like with everything else, the Democrats never realize the damage they're causing until the damage has been done. So I actually got an article here, a great article that's a little old. It was actually from December of 2022 by Pamela Denise Long, titled, "Why Are We Spending Millions Housing Illegal Migrants While Americans Go Homeless?" So while December's winter storm saw U.S. citizens frozen to death in their cars and fallen street side in snowbanks, our migrant-obsessed legislator sent another screw you to the American people in the form of a beefed-up assistance for illegal immigrants. Year-round, millions of Americans are homeless or one paycheck away from being on the streets. 40,000 veterans are homeless across the nation, and 40% of our homeless population is black. So there is extra treachery in passing an omnibus spending bill that includes $800 million in grants to build shelters for foreigners and illegal aliens. Theoretically, everyone deserves to have shelter and protection from the elements, yet it is not America's responsibility to house the world, particularly when your own homeless citizens have fought long and hard battles for access to clean and safe shelter. It's time to call out the policies of President Biden, complicit legislators, and executives of so-called sanctuary cities, and the anti-America betrayal that they are. According to economists at the University of Chicago, more than 500,000 Americans experience homelessness every day, but there are just over 300,000 beds for homeless Americans. That means just 2 out of 3 homeless people across the U.S. can find temporary housing. The remainder are literally unsheltered. And yet, despite the crisis, homeless Americans are being displaced to house illegal migrants. Tensions flared last fall in New York when homeless black Americans were removed from their shelter to be replaced by illegal aliens. Quote, "I have no idea why we are being displaced for them. Why are we being moved and shuffled around?" one woman asked. "We have a housing crisis in this country, but yet millions are being spent to house people who aren't American, while low-income Americans go without. New York City has spent $600 million to house migrants, though its public housing residents live in squalor. Quote, "The city is going to put forth a ton of money for these people who aren't even citizens, but they forgot about people who live in public housing right here." It's time to call this what it is: anti-black racism committed by Democrats who for some reason have more compassion for people from other countries than they do their own fellow Americans. The worst part about it is this crisis was totally preventable. The U.S. border crisis is not naturally occurring. Extra demand for housing is not due to organic market forces. Instead, President Biden sent a signal to the world that the U.S. has no boundaries, and everybody heard it. Because of Biden, we've been forced to assume responsibility for sheltering, feeding, and monitoring millions more people. That was not his job. Upon taking the oath of office, the president was obligated to implement processes that secured the borders of the United States of America. with an estimated of 2 to 5 million aliens released into the country since his inauguration. The president has failed to carry out his duties. Fault for this invasion of our nation is shared by Biden, international NGOs, money-hungry domestic nonprofit organizations, individual migrants, and human smugglers. And rather than solving the problem, the housing grants in the omnibus bill will inject capital into the growing black market of human migration and provide another stream of revenue for the immigration industrial complex. Moreover, a wide-open checkbook lets everyone know that flooding our border will be rewarded with 3 squares and a welcome wagon of handouts. In their 68 to 29 vote for the omnibus spending bill, our legislators have rewarded poor governance, greenlit executive anarchy at a national and state level, and funded a quasi-invasion of the United States. What kind of leader takes care of everyone else before tending to the needs of his own people? While some of the 18 Republicans who supported the omnibus bill were already voted out of office in November, clearly there is more house cleaning to do. Yep. The American people must become as merciless with our elected officials as they have been with us. Redistrict them, vote them out. Elect leaders who will hold betrayers into contempt, censure them for selling out the American people, and expel members for compromising national security via their enablement of lax border enforcement. It's time to freeze out the traitors, just as they are willing to do onto us. Boom! Man, this lady nails it. Black woman, by the way, not that that matters. We don't really care about that on this side. That's more of a Democrat thing. I just want people to know that this woman, Pamela Denise Long, she's a trainer and consultant for the Implementing Trauma-Informed Care and Anti-Racism. Yeah. Yeah. She sees it. This is the problem we have with people with Trump derangement syndrome. This is what I said from the very beginning. Because of Trump derangement syndrome, which I think is a serious mental illness, because of this illness, how Trump psychologically and emotionally damaged these people, now everything that Donald Trump wanted, they have to want the opposite. So Donald Trump wanted secure borders, so they want open borders. Donald Trump wanted a wall, they want no wall. Okay, you see how this works? It's truly bizarre behavior. It really is. I wish Donald Trump would have said, no, we don't want a wall, we want open borders. And then Democrats would have went ahead and built the wall and had the most secure borders we've ever seen. It really is frustrating, man. It really is. And this is not just a Democrat issue. This is Republicans as well. This is our leaders in general. It's just right now, it's the Democrats that support open borders. And Republicans, they just don't do it when they have power. We had one guy that wanted to actually fix the southern border and build a wall, an actual wall. That makes sense. You know, I'm so tired of these dumbasses when they say, oh, well, you could just get a ladder. These people are so dumb, man. They never think about what they say, ever. Like I say, they have a complete lack of self-awareness. It really is. Like, it's truly concerning. It really is that we have this many people that think like this. Walls don't work. A man can be a woman and a woman can be a man. There's no such thing as women. I mean, what the hell? I mean, it's so crazy and so damaging. And so, mind you, all this is happening while we just found out 85,000 migrant children were missing in the country, and the Biden administration is suing Texas for a marine border. This is just proof that to Democrats, party comes first, the ideology comes first, the agenda supersedes the country. Man, I don't know. But that's all I got for today's show. I had a lot more stuff I got to get into, but we're up on time. So, as always, I have so much stuff to get into. What I'm going to do is on the weekends, I think I'm going to hit on all the stories that I didn't get throughout the week. Because I have there's a ton of stuff you guys need to be hearing about. But I just thought the southern border issue, this hearing that happened yesterday, was really important. Matt Gaetz really handed it to Mayorkas. He mopped the floor with this guy. So I thought that was important for you guys to hear. I just want Democrats to be sane, rational Democrats. That is all. That is all. And, you know, they turned into this just radical. I get that there's extremes on both sides. There's extreme leftists. There's extreme people on the right. I get it. But what we're seeing now, that we've never had a party so damaging to this country. I mean, they don't even believe in fundamental truth anymore. They want open borders? Since when? It's wild. The Democrats, I remember Obama talking about putting up and securing our southern border. Democrats were just talking about this a few years ago. And so now all this insanity? And now they want to go to war? They like war now all of a sudden? It's truly bizarre stuff. I know bizarre is the only word I can come up with at the time. It's the word of the day, bizarre. It really is truly concerning behavior. The Democrat Party really are destroying this country. They are destroying this republic faster than anything I've ever experienced in my entire life. They're destroying our democracy, our rule of law, the trust and transparency of our government institutions. They're destroying our elections, our school system, our southern border, our immigration. Like, it is nonstop. The level of destruction that this administration and this party, not just this administration, the party supports this. This is the party's ideology. They all stick together, unlike Republicans. But they are without a doubt the most damaging party this country has ever seen, ever. The Democrats. So that's all we got for today. So let me know what you think about the Rand Paul thing, about the impeachment. I did an episode. My last episode was impeachment a good thing or a bad thing? I kind of loathe impeachment. I don't think it's a good thing. But if you're going to do it, I'm with Rand Paul on this. Get as much evidence as you can and wrap a big red bow tie around that thing and just send it on its way. I mean, make it so convincing that the Democrats would have to convict. But I just don't see it happening. But they at least need to get the evidence together, put a bow tie on it, secure it, dot the I's, cross the T's, and send it on its way. Because at least, if for anything, it's in the history books. And so what's going to happen is history is going to remember Donald Trump as being the best president this country's seen in decades, and it's going to remember Joe Biden as the most corrupt president this country's ever seen. And meanwhile, the entire time, the Democrats were trying to convince people that it was actually Trump that was going to be the worst leader, the most damaging president, the one that got us in the war, the one that crashed our economy. And it was completely opposite. You know, the one that was supposed to be the dictator and the tyrant, the Pol Pot and the Hitler. And it's actually opposite. It is so, so wild. You know, with Joe Biden and the vaccine mandates, the eviction moratoriums, the unilateral unauthorized spending to forgive student loan debt. I mean, just the list goes on and on of why this administration, Joe Biden in particular, is just so tyrannical, unlike anything we've ever seen. I mean, he took executive overreach to another level. So, but yeah, let me know what you think. Send me an email, StevenTaurielloShow@gmail.com. Make sure you share the show with your friends and family so that they know what is happening at our southern border, so that they know that we got people like Matt Gaetz fighting for this issue, and that is what we want. We just want to spread the word out there so everyone gets it. Because that is most important. I am a firm believer that informed people make the best decisions, and what happened in 2020 was just a lot of people that were uninformed, and they got duped. And I'm telling you, I see a big reversal coming in 2024, and that is why all the Trump indictments are coming down the tube. They know Donald Trump is going to win the 2024 election, and they're trying to do everything that they can to keep that from happening. And Democrats, they don't even care. They want it. They say, oh yeah, weaponized government, weaponized justice system to keep Trump out? Absolutely. Give us more. How many ankle bracelets can we put on this guy? Whatever we could do to hurt him the most in the general election. This is how they think. I see it on Twitter. They don't even hide it anymore. It's wild stuff we're seeing. And then, they want to point the finger at the other side and call them the ones damaging the republic. It's just the hypocrisy is truly incredible. So anyways, all right, ladies and gentlemen, as always, thank you for tuning in. I want you guys to have a good day. Have a great weekend. TGIF. And God bless you. And God bless America. You guys have a good day. Bye-bye.